What note was that? A lot of people have a hard time, an unnecessarily hard time, recognizing notes down in first position on the guitar. And if it were as simple as it is on a piano, you have black keys and white keys. The white keys are the natural notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. There's only 7 of them. The black keys, there are only 5 of them, are notes in between the notes that are a whole step apart. Let's take a look at how that really works on the guitar, because it can be a really useful thing to be able to look at a C chord and know that you're playing a C, an E, a G, a C, and an E. And if you happen to put a G in the bass on the 6th string, you know right where that is. And it's really easy if you get over the fear of it seems way too complicated. So what I want to talk about here for just a couple minutes is a couple things you can do to understand the natural notes in first position on the guitar and see the difference between a black key and a white key. The white keys, the natural notes, the black keys, the sharps and flats. Hate to call them accidentals, but they're the non-natural notes. So all you really have to do is remember a couple of crucial things. Where we have natural half steps. On the piano, they're the white keys next to each other without a black key. That is E and F and B and C. That means on the guitar, if you're ever on an E, it's only 1 fret or a half step to F. Same thing with B, only a half step to C. So that's the kind of exception, and most of the times the notes are going to be whole steps apart. So which means 2 frets, F to G. And if you remember how the guitar is tuned, that the 5th fret of every string except 1, you're overlapping, you're hitting the same note that is the next string open. So let's get in here and take a little closer look at the fingerboard with some big hints, I hope. I just played every single key or note in first position with the exception of 1. First position meaning on the guitar that your 4 fingers are covering the first 4 frets. Your 1st at the 1st, 2nd at the 2nd, 3rd at the 3rd, 4th at the 4th, and I went all the way up to A just as because that's a good way to end it. Now these would be notes we would consider all part of the chromatic scale, because every note I played was a half step from the neighbor. I went from E to F sharp to G sharp, and then instead of continuing to A, the next string open is our A. So remembering that the 5th fret of the 6th string is the same as the open 5th string, and the same thing is true, 5th fret of the 5th string is open. Now, learning the names of the open strings, many people start memorizing them as a phrase or a sentence or something. You learn that the 6th string is E, and then you come up with some phrase, remember E, A, D, G, B, E. Everybody, well, eat a darn good breakfast every day, or something like that. That is one. I didn't just make that up. But anyway, I think it's much more important to have instant recognition of the strings, knowing that this is G, and this is A, and this is B, and this is D. And you can get that with just a little bit of work, and by also learning to recognize the white keys on the guitar, the natural notes. Each string, with one exception, our 2nd and 3rd strings, there's always something a little bit quirky about them. But if you start with the 6th string E, most of the strings are just going to have 2 other notes, in this case F and G, before you get to the next string, A, which would either be at the 5th fret or here. So on the 6th string we have E, F, and G. Don't worry about the black keys, the sharps and the flats. There we have it, E, F, and G. E to F's a half step. Now we're up here to A. We've got 2 other notes, A, B, and C. B and C, once again, a half step apart. Past C, we're at D. The next string open. Same deal, 2 white keys, E and F. So far we have E, F, and G on this string, A, B, and C, D, E, and F. Now once we get to the next note, G, that would be at the 5th fret, we have a slightly different situation, because the 2 notes on this string would be A and B, which would both be a whole step apart, A at the 2nd fret, B at the 4th. However, B is the next string, in this case, the 2nd string, so on the G string we just think 2 notes, G and A. Then we're back to our regular pattern. We're up here on the open B, the 2nd string, and half step to C, whole step to D, B, C, D. Continuing past D, we'd be up at E. first string open. And the notes on the first string are the same note-wise as they are on the sixth. So you only have 5 strings in the first place to remember, because the first and the sixth can count as one. Now, sometimes on the first string you do want to think about going one note higher. Knowing the 5th fret is A, I would consider that the last note in first position. However, it's kind of an extended first position. So on the top string, the E string, we've got E, F, G, and A. And now if you work on those in random order, pick a string, the 3rd string. Let's see, okay, that's G. I only have one note on that, A. Pick another string, the A string, come down to the 5th string. I've got A and 2 other notes, B and C. They have to be there. A whole step to B and a half step to C. Let's see, is there a C string? No. Let's pick the B string now. 2nd string open, B to C to D. Half step to C, whole step to D. So once you've been drilling yourself a little bit on just the natural notes, another step would be play a chord and as quickly as you can identify those notes. And if you can remember the strings randomly first, meaning knowing that the 4th string when I play it, it's D, and you don't have to think E, A, D. That's first big step. Get the strings out of some order. And one thing that could help with that is even naming them in the reverse order, being able to think E, B, G, D, A, E. So then you play a D chord and you start looking at these notes. Open, I've got on the 4th string, I've got a D. I'm at the 2nd fret of the G string, got to be A. But you also should recognize these as some of the natural notes that you just learned, and this one as not one. Here we have a black key because on that string I had E, F, and G. So, learning the white keys on the guitar, G, F, and E, D, C, and B, A, and G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, and E. Put some time in on that, it will really pay off.